Welcome to the Wine and Spirits podcast, Halloween edition.
Woo! Lumos.
Wow, good job, Myra. Well, it's Halloween, you guys, or it will be in a couple days. So thank you guys for joining us. Should I say on this Halloween day?
Yeah!
Right? You guys, it is a dark and stormy night that we are filming in. And there has been some weird things that's already happened while trying to get all this set up. So I feel like we're a little late.
Yeah.
But, just wanted to address that. But being that this is our Halloween episode, look at you, Myra.
Yay! Do you like it? Do you like it?
I love it. Myra is a vampire. She has some great makeup on here.
I'm changing. Can you tell? I love your outfit. What
Thank
are you
you.
doing?
I've had work done. It's a very botched job. But, I tried to go get my hair done. I tried to get something done with my face. It didn't work out so well. Dr. Frankenstein is not the best doctor, if you know what I mean. But,
fine.
he brought me back. It's fine. So we are doing this to entertain you guys. Thank you for watching.
Thank you and welcome. We are going to start off with the wine, but this special is going to be kind of talking about the history of Halloween and just some of our experiences that we've had, chilling experiences.
So the wine that we have for you today, it's very special to me. I've had this wine for a couple years, and if you want to look closely, it is Elizabeth Bathory's wine. So Elizabeth Bathory is what they called her. This is given to me by a friend of mine, a coworker. Her name is Hannah, and she's from Slovakia. And she said that the Elizabeth Bathory's castle is there. Yes, she's Hungarian, but this is also at the border of Hungary and Slovakia. So the western part of Slovakia. Her castle still stands today. It's mostly ruins. But she was able to obtain this lovely bottle of wine for me. It is a red. I don't know what it is yet because I cannot read it. But we are going to drink it, and we will give you guys the review at the end of the show. So let's cheers.
Cheers.
Happy Halloween.
Smells good. Ooh.
I like it.
Ugh, that's going to stump me.
What do you think it is?
Oh, it's going to stump me because it tastes like a cab, but it also tastes like a blend. Like I'm tasting... Oh, I don't want to give out... Well, just a quick little mini review, but we won't rate.
Okay.
It has I'm tasting black cherry, like dark fruits. But I like it all around, like the initial taste and the aftertaste, everything.
Yeah, it's not too
good.
tart or anything like that. So.
And it smells wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm wondering...
Is
it wine or is it blood?
Is it blood? Let me talk a little bit about Elizabeth Bathory.
Yes,
since
please.
we are on that, I love her. I mean, most people would probably know her as the Blood Countess. Some people say that she was the female Dracula, and she did exist 100 years before Vlad the Impaler existed. And she did murder with one of her servant ladies, documented over 600 people. So I wouldn't even begin to know how many she actually murdered. And so her thing was, why she's called the Blood Countess, was she would also use the blood to bathe in. So that was a huge thing. Maybe we could do an episode about her someday. But Elizabeth Bathory bathed in blood. She also tortured servants. And a lot of these people went missing because they were obviously poor villagers. And they would think they were going to go get this job in this lovely castle. And she was really just murdering a lot of these servants to feed her bloodbath, if you will. And she'd done things also in the wintertime to throw water on people and leave them outside in the cold so they could be ice sculptures. So that was a thing that she did. So the harsh winters, here's these frozen people outside just... They would be her statues
crazy.
For the winter. Yeah.
So. Yeah, we'll dive into it more because I have a couple questions about some things that I heard regarding her, and also a movie I'd like to throw in there.
Oh, yes.
So,
there's definitely a couple movies out there. But we are going to address Halloween today, you guys. My favorite holiday. Is it your favorite holiday?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I'm going to kind of lead this one. Halloween. October 31st, All Hallows Eve. So it's before the Saints' Day, which is November 1st. A lot of what Halloween is about is it is a Celtic holiday originated out of Ireland.
Yep.
And the idea is it's the end of the harvest. So that's where you get the black and the orange. The black is like to symbolize like the death and everything dying. And the orange is to symbolize the harvest of all that. So like the leaves turning. And they do through a festival during that time as well. So that's how we get the celebration of Halloween. One of the other things I would say is the jack-o'-lanterns. I know a lot of people love those.
Yep.
Jack-o'-lanterns were actually originally carved from turnips. And I love pumpkins much better than carving it out of a turnip because I don't think turnips are very plentiful here. They carved them to have these spooky faces to ward off some of the creatures and ghosts that might be coming through on Halloween night because of the veil being as thin as it is. So people say that the dead can travel between the two realms.
Yep.
So that was something that's really cool. It's been around for about 2,000 years, I think even a little over that. And we have the trick-or-treaters. Now, why do we dress up? It's because we're also trying to disguise ourselves as some of the dead or like an animal or something like that in order to disguise ourselves so that the dead won't approach us or see us. And so when we go knocking on each other's homes for treats, it was to also be like, it's almost like a caroling.
Right.
So the kids would go through and just knock on the doors because that was a time when it was a celebration, it was a holiday. People would always give. They're a little bit more generous. Like, you know, when you are giving a lot more away at Christmas time, you know, it's a time of giving. But all holidays, apparently, it was back in the Celtic days, they would go, you know, knocking on people's doors and asking for, you know, some kind of contribution.
Trick or treat.
So, and then the trick part comes from, I think later in like the 1940s and 50s when they started doing like a trick, like a trickster day, like Devil's Night.
Kind of like Krampus.
Yeah. Or you can give them a treat. So if you weren't going to give them a treat, you were going to get a trick. So that's kind of where that comes from. What do you have to add to that?
Not much more. You pretty much covered all of it. But yeah, the veil being the thinnest and the spirits being able to come through, and it kind of aligns with not the same date because Dia de los Muertos comes later in November, the first weekend of November. But it's kind of along those lines, and a lot of people do rituals too on that night. Supposedly, I don't know if it is or not. I haven't looked at my moon phase app, but supposedly it is supposed to be a full moon. So
okay, that's a great night to go, guys.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's some stuff is going to be going down. I can tell you
people
that.
Act really weird during a full moon.
They do.
I mean, I've heard this. A cousin of mine worked in a mental illness facility at one point, and she definitely told me that people definitely act up when it is the full moon out. And Halloween is also called, it's spelled Samhain, but it's Samhain. So that is also like the Celtic word for Halloween.
So in light of Halloween, we're going to kind of recount some paranormal stories. I know you didn't get a chance to tell one of your personal stories that you had, so why don't you share with us?
Yes, I will share with you a ghost story on this lovely Halloween day, and you guys too. The lovely part is we are exactly in the place this ghost story occurred. We are at Myron Casper's house. So, the day, I've told you this story, but I'm going to tell all of you again. The day that you guys had your bachelorette party, that was in September, how many years ago would you say?
Back in 2011.
2011. So this memory is really burned into my head. Now, my husband Scott and our friend Dennis had also gone out with you guys that night. And us three had planned on staying the night, which by the end of the night, we had a lovely time, went clubbing, did all the things. And by the time I had gotten back here, I was exhausted. We were all exhausted. I was so tired, ready to go to bed. And you guys, basically, I was sleeping on the floor in their living room, which was where we expected to stay. And it was myself, Dennis, and my husband Scott. So Scott was on, I'd say, this side, from your guys' view. On this side, I was in the middle, and Dennis was on this side. And he's the one that's closer to the door, and Scott is closer to the fireplace wall. So for some reason, I was really tired, but I just couldn't sleep anymore. All of a sudden you kind of feel like you're a little bit more awake, and I kept feeling like I was being watched, and I think the other two just conked out. They were out, and my feeling just kept growing and growing, and I felt like as I was laying there, I'm being watched from somebody up on their loft, and like an overlook. So I was like, I don't feel comfortable about this, and so I was really trying not to like look up there for the sake that I didn't want something looking back at me, but I felt that something was looking that way at me, and so I just couldn't really fall asleep. And as I'm trying to fall asleep, I would hear little knocks on the wall. So I heard it's like a tap, like that on this wall right here by the door, but it was in between the door and the window, was not a door knock. And then I would be like, okay, there's absolutely nobody there, because I think we had gotten here at like 2 in the morning. And this is definitely between 2 and 3. I don't know if it has to do with the witching hour or not. And then I would ignore it. And then I would hear another tapping on that back wall by the window, but it wasn't on the window, it was on the wall. But it seemed like it was coming in from the inside, not the outside. So that's the thing, it's like a little finger tap. And, so as I'm trying to drift off, things like that would happen, and I would like kind of wake myself in a weird way.
Yep.
And this whole time, I'm scared. I'm also trying to like nudge and bump the two guys next to me so that somebody would kind of get up, so maybe it would calm me down, but they were out. And then I started feeling like somebody was standing on this stairway right here, the railing. Now that was when shit got real. And so I was laying down like this on the floor, and I'm kind of peeking through the blanket, as one does, because they're scared. And I saw a figure standing right there on the stairs looking at me. And it was a shorter person, definitely like a child, like a girl. And couldn't see features or anything like that, but I could definitely tell it was a young girl. I wouldn't even say a very small child, like almost 8 maybe. And just watching me, and I could see like the cabinets there and this wall, and I could definitely tell it was a shape. It wasn't any of the other things you had here.
Yep.
And then it started moving. The creepiest effing thing was this thing moved, but it was like it was
snaking.
It was like a snake, but it was like. And I was like, nope. And again, I'm seeing it, and I'm like, is this real? Is this really what I'm seeing? And I knew that there were things that happened in your house, and that's kind of part of the reason we were like staying to, I was thinking the other guys were going to stay up with me. They did not, and I just remember like kind of doing the turn and putting the blanket back over my head, trying to go back to sleep. Now, mind you, most of this time, pretty much all this time, I either was laying flat on my back or I was turned towards Scott, who was on this side of me. And I was like turning towards him, and Dennis was just quiet and sleeping. And when I looked back, the figure was gone. And then I felt a little bit better. And eventually I started seeing like that peak of sun coming up, the sky's getting a little nicer and clearer. And to lead on to this story, now Dennis isn't here to tell his share of the story, but I'm going to tell you what I remember that he said to me in the morning. Now, he said that he felt somebody laying on top of him that night.
Yep.
And he said he felt like somebody threw like a ring, like an actual ring at him, because it hit the back of his neck, and he felt a cold ring. But he didn't think anything of it, and he was sleeping on his stomach, and he felt that someone was laying on him all night. Not only that, but then when he looked facing me, he said somebody else was facing him back, and I did not face him that night.
Oh,
like somebody.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, no, I was turned this way and straight the whole time. I never faced Dennis until the morning when we were both up, and he said, "Oh," he was like, "Hi, morning, Sammy." I'm like, "Hi, Dennis," and we started talking
gave
about
me
what might have
chills.
happened, and he said that somebody was facing him, and it was not me. It was a girl, though.
Oh
So,
gosh.
I mean, it's a short story, but it was a long night. And that is the...
Didn't something happen with Scott's cell phone, like the alarm going off that he didn't even, or something like that?
It went off twice in the middle of the night. And I'm like, that's when I think I finally got him up and was like, turn off your alarm, because I didn't want to get up to like,
Right.
I didn't want to move at all. But yes, it went off twice that night, and he did get up and turn it off. But of course, he went right to sleep like it was nothing. Nothing happened to him, but that was some spooky stuff that happened here. And the next morning, I kind of mentioned it to Casper first, because you were up before Myra was, and I kind of mentioned some things, and then he acknowledged, like, yes, those are things that happened. So he had not told me some of like the tapping, certain things that were happening, until he basically confirmed what I felt like I saw. So
Yes.
that is
Oh my gosh.
spooky things.
Someone facing him, that's creepy.
Yeah, he said he either dreamt it or he saw it, but either way, I was not facing him, and he felt like that weight on, like someone was laying on top of him. Not like the worst.
Oh my gosh. So what's interesting about the tapping that you hear is, like, often, for those of you who are new to our channel, often in our house we'll have like a knocking sound, but it's on the inside, and sometimes we'll hear it on the door. And at first I thought, okay, maybe it's just a residual haunting, but it's not at the same time every day. It's at random times, and it's nothing hitting the outside of our door, because our door has a glass screen door there, so the sound is coming from the inside, and it's a knock on the actual door, not the glass sound. So there's difference in the sounds, so we hear that randomly,
Because you'll hear it during the day too.
yes,
Yeah.
yep. And I mean, we've started having stuff happen during the day, which before, majority of the stuff would happen at night. But now, like, it will get to points where I'll be sitting there, and on my peripheral, I'll see, you know how you see in some of those security videos of like a white shadowy figure walking, like a ghost?
Like a faded, like, figure.
I'll see that in my peripheral. And I'll look, and of course there's nothing there. So, and it's most of it happens when I'm by myself, and I hate it. Or like at night, if I'm watching scary movies, because that's all I watch lately, I will see like a quick, short, childlike black shadow go by. But it's so quick that, as soon as you look, obviously nothing's there.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's like a true, like, toddler or anything. It's like a young child.
Yep.
But we don't know. I know in the past we figured out that it was a little girl. And there's another guy or somebody here.
Yeah, I think there's multiple spirits, but the only ones that I have had contact was the guy, who to me feels a little bit threatening, but that's just because of the energy that I feel when I've seen him. I've only actually seen him once where, like, it actually stayed the solid figure when I was coming through the door. Usually it's like passing, or it's a feeling that someone's watching you. Just the other night, probably like, I want to say 3 or 4 nights ago, I thought Casper had come up 2 times. I went to bed early because I was tired, and the first time I thought he came up, I heard the door open like it normally does. I heard it kind of close, like the half click. Yeah. And then I heard the walking around the bed, but I heard him grumbling, or like a growling. I heard,
like,
and so I like
that day.
I whipped over and I looked, and there's no one there. So then I look on the camera. I'm like, oh, he's still downstairs. I'm like, okay, what the heck? So I'm like, whatever. I'm going back to sleep. So not even 15 minutes later, I hear the walking, because in our room there's like certain spots that creak. So, and his knees creak too. He's walking.
My ankle creaks going up the stairs.
So I know it's him. It's a distinct knee cracking creak, and that's what I heard walking in the bedroom. So again, and I felt the pressure of someone like sitting on the bed.
That's scary.
And so I didn't think anything of it. Well, didn't look this time. Well, not even maybe 5 minutes later, this time I like freaked out. He actually came in the room, and I had my phone light up, and I went like this. And I was like, oh, he's like, what? And I'm like, I thought you came up here like 2 times ago. Because it happened. It's like something in this house is mimicking people in here. Like, I'll hear his voice. I'll hear Gio's voice. One night I was sleeping. This actually happened 4 nights ago. I heard, "Mommy."
Oh,
So
no.
I thought he was having a nightmare. And so I of course, I roll over, I look at the camera. He hasn't moved or anything. And me, I'll always roll the camera back to see if there's any sound or anything. Nothing. I could not reproduce it, but it was clear. And I thought he had come in the room because that's how loud it was.
Is that why you also have so many cameras in your house, to kind of catch some of this evidence? And I know you guys are techie people anyway,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like, do you feel a little bit more validated? Do you feel a little safer by having
yes.
it recorded, and that you're not going crazy and you can look back?
Yes, because originally it just started off as a baby cam. We just had one in his room, but so much stuff was happening, especially when we had the haunted pictures, the paintings from his grandma in our house. And so we got more cameras, and it helps because if we hear a weird sound or we're trying to like figure out where it came from, we can review the cameras and figure it out. Like half the stuff that we've caught, we would have never been able to prove it to anyone. Like the thing flying off the shelf and
the picture upstairs,
the picture just
fell apart.
randomly fell apart, just stuff like that. And like the orbs that you see like going into our heads, and then you see us change, or like we're getting snappy or whatever. So I'm happy we have it. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you have a lot of cameras. Well, we live in a haunted house, so we kind of need it. We need to make sure it's a real person that we're talking to. Like there was a story, I don't know if you've seen this, it's about mimics, and this husband had left, and he saw his wife and his son just sitting on the bed staring at the camera, like not moving, and he thought it was weird, so he called his wife, and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? And she's like, what are you talking about? We're just laying in bed, we're watching a movie. But they were in the husband and wife's room, and he's like, okay, you need to get out of the house. And she's like, why? And he's like, there's someone in our son's bedroom. So she goes to peek, and she freaks out, grabs the son, runs out of the house, and he looks to see, and he sees that the wife and the son are still sitting there. So it was like almost identical. No. And then like he tries to go there, and he hears like movement, walking, and he looks on the camera and sees that the wife is gone, but the son's still sitting there staring. No. And he like ran out of the house. But me, that's what I'm fearing, because there's so much going on in this house that when I hear a mimic, it creeps me out, because I'm thinking
and it should. That's scary.
And I watch too many horror movies, so I'm like thinking of all this stuff. I'm like, how do you know?
We're trying to get through it. Not, yes, we scare ourselves, but we're trying to get through it. And I think that having watched horror movies, you can kind of also like kind of decide what you need to do. Like, okay, like you said, I check the cameras because but Casper's still downstairs. Things like that. It's like you're validating yourself that I straight up heard that right behind me, right?
Yeah.
I wish I don't know. It's so scary. This is why we believe in ghosts. And when the veil is thinnest, we'll
see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
I'm sure I'll have some tales to tell you if something kicks up, but it's activity happening at night. Sometimes it happens during the day. Sometimes he says creepy stuff in his room because he is in the haunted room.
I know. When they had Gio, I was like, you put him in the haunted room?
Yeah.
And then she's like, yeah, I had no other place to put him.
I go in the haunted room.
And I feel like the majority of like spirits or like paranormal things that I've experienced, if I feel like it's an actual ghost, it's been like a lot of the shadow people. It's always something I can't definitively say was a person. And I remember one time I was at my friend's house back in like when I was in like junior high. We were always at her house, and her parents they didn't want us to be up in the upstairs like living area, because it's the typical like house that you can't sit on the couch because it's too nice. So you can't be upstairs in the living room. It's too nice. You guys need to go hang out in the basement. And the basement was furnished, and it was finished. So it wasn't that the basement was scary, but we always hung out in the basement. The TV was down there. Everything was down there. But they didn't have a bathroom down there, so I'd have to go upstairs to use the restroom.
Yeah.
And walking upstairs one time, and of course her parents were very cheap as well, so they always wanted to save on electricity. So you're not supposed to turn on any of the lights when you're walking around the house at night, because they were working a night shift at the time. So literally her house was always dark. We had like just the TV on, and I think maybe a lamp that her parents were seriously like if they came home and a bunch of lights were on, they would be upset. But anyway, so we had to go upstairs, and you can only turn on so many lights. So I just kind of respected the fact that that's just always the way it was. So I was walking to the bathroom, and I looked inside a bedroom, and I swear I saw a person at the end of the bed standing up, and they were folding the blanket and putting it down on the bottom of the bed. And I did one of those, like, doo, 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 and then I was like, walked past, and then I looked back like this, and there was nobody there. And then I flicked the light on, and there was definitely a blanket folded on the bed. But I saw somebody doing like the last fold and putting it on the bed. And I'm like, well, that was weird. And there were some weird activities at her house. I don't know why. The house doesn't seem to have that type of history. But, I still went to the bathroom and just went downstairs. And I'm like, I just saw something upstairs.
And they're like, oh, it happens all the time.
Yeah, kind of. They definitely did acknowledge that I wasn't wrong. Like, there might be something. See. And nobody slept in that room because the girls shared a room and their brother got a different room, but nobody slept in that bedroom.
Oh, so there was definitely something going on.
Yeah, it was like, it was a guest room, if you would, but they never had guests, so.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's like you see things and then you're like trying to debunk it. So you're like, could this happen? Could that happen? And that's what I do a lot of times when I watch paranormal videos. I'm just like, okay, could this happen? But some stuff that's happened here have been so like out there that like I'm like, if I were telling anyone else's tale, they'd be like, that didn't happen. That's not true. So
I believe you, Myra.
I know it's hard. Oh, you believe me now because you had to experience it.
Oh, I believed you before that though.
Yeah.
But I came that night. Not only to party with you guys, but also it was a good opportunity for me to finally stay the night because I hadn't stayed the night since you guys. So just so you know, I've not stayed the night since. So, but I come over, so we're aware. So with that being said, should we do the wine rating?
Yeah.
So should we just try it one more time?
Yes.
All right. Cheers. So. Would you say it's some kind of red berry blend?
I'm just going to say it's a red blend because I can't, like when I was smelling it, it smelled like a cab. The initial taste tasted like a cab, but like it has something else in there and I can't define it. So I'm going to say it's a red blend of some kind, but it's a really good red blend.
I really like it. Thank you, Hannah, by the way. No, this is like, when I first tasted, it's not like that tartness right away of like a cab. I agree with you about that. And then I was almost thinking like a Pinot, but
it might be.
But there's like a hint of it, but it's not as like deep as that either.
Like I definitely feel the cab more, and then there's like the Pinot. But then I'm going back and forth between like a Merlot and a Malbec. Okay. Like it feels like it's like a blend of something. It might even be a Syrah.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't know, but it's really good.
It's really good, and going down, it's actually really nice. It's just smooth going down. So, what would you give this wine?
To be honest, and I love red wine, so I'm a little biased. I'm going to give it a 5 because I love it.
You know what? I don't give them 5s often, and I'm not saying this just because it's Elizabeth Bathory. I got it from a friend, and I have been sitting on this bottle for about 2 years for this special occasion, and I'm going to get a 5 as well.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
So next time she goes, because she goes every other year, so I'm going to grab a couple more bottles.
Yeah, I feel like, a couple.
And I love the history with it and definitely keeping that bottle.
We definitely have to do an episode on Elizabeth Bathory because there's a lot there.
There is a lot, yes. She's amazing. All right, well, with that being said, happy Halloween.
Have fun, be safe, and we'll see
you on the other side.